Our next guest, watching retail traders as we close out the year. Joining us is Joe Mazzola. He's Charles Schwab's Director of Trading and Education. And, you know, the last couple of weeks of the year are always super active. And then you add in what we're seeing in crypto right now. And I'm curious what kind of numbers you're seeing.
Yeah, good morning. So I think the story of the IMX, the Investor Movement Index, which we track on a monthly basis, is really one of kind of selling into strength and rotating into different sectors. And that's what we saw in November. We saw our clients kind of move out of some of the mega caps and take advantage of some of maybe that movement underneath the surface that you're seeing overall in the markets. We saw selling in communication services. We saw selling in IT. And a lot of buying in healthcare, energy, and then consumer staples. So that rotation, that's kind of underlying the surface right now. Same thing that we're seeing here at TD and Schwab.
What do you see about the crypto piece of this? So how do you sort of make sense of that? Is that, you think, totally dependent on what the Fed is doing, or at least a perception of what the Fed's going to do next year?
Well, you know, I still look at crypto as a trade, so I think that it's a momentum trade. And what we tend to see is we don't see a lot of buyers of crypto at the bottom. We see a lot of buyers of crypto at the top. So when you start to see things kind of pushing into next levels, that's where that kind of the retail interest really starts to pick up a bit. Could it be a story in terms of what the Fed's doing? That's a bit hard to tell. But when you look at kind of the backdrop of what we've seen in the market as a whole. I mean, think about this. We saw a 50 basis point drop in the 10-year yield just in the last month alone. So there's a lot of buying and a lot of excitement in maybe some of these names that had underperformed. And I think that that's kind of what you're seeing. Some of the interest rate sensitive names. You know, the biggest name in terms of the buying from our clients, believe it or not, was Realty Income, letter O. And so some of those stocks and you know, crypto to a certain extent, some of those interest rate sensitive names have really taken off in the last month. And a lot of that just has to do with the changing macro environment. I mean, it looks like, you know, based upon what the CME FedWatch tool is telling us, that they're pulling forward rate cuts into potentially March and even potentially June with around an 85% chance. So I think that's what you're seeing.
Do you see a lot of trading in individual names? Is it more ETFs? What's going on in the options market? I mean, where is the activity right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, the IMX really measures more of kind of the individual stock names, and that's what we're looking at here. But yeah, I mean, there's interest everywhere. I would say right now, option volume is picking up to a level that we really started to see, you know, last summer. And once again, the interest in trading activity. It might be a little counterintuitive. I think sometimes we think that people are trying to pick bottoms. I think a lot of times what we notice is interest picks up when the markets are moving in a favorable direction. And we're starting to see a little bit of that right now. A couple of things that I've been looking at is, you know, the bullish bearish indicators. They're starting to widen out a little bit. We're starting to see a little bit more pickup in the CBOE equity put call ratio, which kind of signals that you're starting to see individual investors start to play a little bit more in some of that upside call buying that we've seen recently. And that tends to maybe signal that there might be a little bit of exhaustion up here. And when I look at that and kind of see what our retail clients did in November, maybe selling into some of that strength, I think they're being rather prudent in doing so.
What about the options piece of it?
Yeah, well, like I said, the options, you know, what we're seeing now is we're starting to see some more of that upside call buying. Right. And I think that's indicative of reaching for a little bit at this point.